It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful Friday. We couldn't ask for better weather in January than what we're getting, although it's going to change tomorrow. The rain's going to move in early in the morning, and I probably won't be wearing a sport coat all that often. This is what we call a change-up off the normal fastball. Billy Derrick's alongside. You'll hear from Watson Brown later in the show. Billy, how are you?
George, I'm great. It's always great when we can get Watson on a Friday. It just brightens the show.
Well, it's bonus coverage.
Yeah, bonus coverage for Watson. Everybody loves that. So tail of the tape for Titans-Jags coming up. And we've got Terry, too. So loaded on Titans-Jags coverage.
That's not all.
Not all?
We have Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards as well. Couldn't forget. I was trying to tease it, George.
The, what does he call it? The worldwide leader.
Yeah.
He's the voice of reason at the Worldwide Leader, and he'll join us at 3:15. Mark Griffin today during the first segment of the show around 2:20. We say hello to the traveling man, Terry McCormick. He will be at the Gator Bowl tomorrow night. Terry, how are you?
I'm doing well, George. How are you?
Well, I think you could tell, probably not as good as I should be. However, I've got a little cough button. Watch how this works. Yeah. A little upgrade there with the cough button.
You never had one of those, have you, George?
Oh, no. I've had a cough button in radio, but this is big. So, Terry, the NFL Network earlier today had like 8 different experts pick this game tomorrow night, Titans-Jags. 7 of the people went Jacksonville. Maurice Jones-Drew was the only person that went Titans, as though it was, but it's still the Jags and they've never been in this big spotlight. Do you think that's a factor tomorrow night?
I think it could be. I mean, certainly when you are not used to experiencing those sorts of things, and I'm guessing that not a lot of people are left on that Jacksonville roster from that team that went to the AFC Championship back in 2017. That's been 5 seasons ago. So, there could be a little bit of that. I mean, there's no question that the Jaguars are going to be the more talented team on the field, 1-53, simply because the Titans have half the squad on injured reserve, it seems like. But there is something to that. I think, the Titans can hold it together early and have some good things happen, then I think that's where that would come into play with Jacksonville, wondering if they're ready for the big time stage and what all it takes and entails to be a playoff team.
Terry, let's run through right now what you believe to be the most accurate info, Titan-wise, of who hasn't been playing but is going to see action tomorrow night.
Well, they listed, I think, 5 guys as questionable. One of them is Treylon Burks, but the way it sounded from Mike Vrabel yesterday, I think, if at all possible, I think he's going to give it a go. Sounds like that Christian Fulton is going to be able to maybe give it a try. I think Amani Hooker's going to be back out there, and I do believe that Jeffrey Simmons will be out there as well, and you can certainly expect Derrick Henry and Danico Autry.
So this would be, let's play fill in the blank here. This would be the healthiest the Titans have been since when? 1999? What do you think?
It feels that way. It seems like it's been just a never-ending succession of injuries, just wave after wave of guys going down. But this is probably, from a of an availability standpoint in terms of guys who are on the 53-man roster, probably the healthiest they've been in a couple of months. Now, that said, they've got 23 players on injured reserve, and some of those guys are key players here. We're talking Ryan Tannehill, Taylor White, Ben Jones, Nate Davis, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham. The list just goes on and on and on. So you're going to be without a lot of guys who've helped you throughout the year. But in terms of what you have available, there are fewer guys on the injury report this week. So it's, I guess, how you want to look at it. It's a matter of interpretation.
See if you buy this. When these two teams met, however long ago it was, it feels like a million years ago. Jacksonville in the second half could do whatever they wanted. They converted on any third down. It could have been 3rd and 100, and they convert because the Titans got no pass rush whatsoever, and Trevor Lawrence looked incredibly comfortable. It looked like he was sitting on a bicycle. He was so comfortable. Doesn't this come down to they have got to get in his face some, and if they do, they've got a real shot, and if they don't, they have no shot?
I think that's a very good assessment there, George. I think, when this Titans defense gets a pass rush, when they get pressure with 4 and don't have to bring extra people, then that makes the back 7 that much better. There's some holes back there in the back 7. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. You see how rookies Roger McCrary and Trey Avery have struggled back there at the cornerback position at various times this year. Some of that is a product of them being rookies and being out of position. Some of that's a product of not getting enough pass rush at times. So a good, strong, solid pass rush that's going to make Trevor Lawrence have to think about getting hit, have to think about hurrying passes and things like that, certainly could work to the Titans' advantage.
Okay, your gut feeling. With who is playing, do they have enough to get pressure?
I think so. Simmons and Autry are the key. It would be nice if they had Bud Dupree because he seems to make a difference when he's on the field because teams have to account for him. But obviously they don't have him, and they haven't had Harold Landry all year. But we've seen Autry and Simmons, that combination oftentimes has been enough to generate a pass rush that this team sorely needs. I think some of it's going to be how do some of these other guys around them play? How does a DeMarcus Walker do? What about Rashad Weaver? Can you get some pass rush out of him? And there are a couple of others, on that list. Can Tierre Tart, get his hand up and bat a couple of passes down as well as being a run plugger? There's a lot of options there. And some of those are going to have to step up in a big way to help out with Simmons and Autry.
Okay. Normally, you have something you want to bring to the table before I ever start. I didn't give you that chance today. Anything you want to share?
Well, look, probably in the next hour or two, look for the Titans to make a couple of roster moves. They are currently below the 53-man number, and they'll probably wind up pulling a couple of guys up off the practice squad and adding them to the 53-man roster for this game. And then they'll also probably have the guys who are, the practice squad call-up elevations for the game only available. Now, that said, do not expect David Long to be back this week. They still have one spot left that they can activate a guy from IR. But quite honestly, George, there was, David Long nor anybody else was activated into their window this week. So that won't be happening. Your linebacker crew without David Long there might very well be Jack Gibbons and Monty Rice once again, with Dylan Cole maybe being available coming off of an injury.
Terry, it sure looks like in this winner-take-all battle that the likelihood is whoever wins tomorrow night will get Justin Herbert and the Chargers next weekend.
That's a tall order. That's a tall order. I mean, let's be honest. The NFL and the viewing public would probably rather see Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert matched up against each other in round one than to see the Titans in there trying to stumble their way through with all the injuries they've had.
Trying to slop through the mud.
Yes.
Terry, I want to leave you with this. You can see in the background, let me try to point. You see Atlanta Stadium back there?
I do.
Trust me when I tell you that Yankee Stadium will never grace that area.
Really?
Never,
well, there you go.
Ever, ever.
Yeah. Well, if you'll pan back on me, there is a little right there. You see it right there above the file cabinet?
Point
A friend
at
of
it.
mine got me that. It's a picture in a frame of Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and Yogi Berra together.
3 Yankees who didn't cheat.
3 Yankees who were part of the greatness.
Listen, all kidding aside, have a safe weekend down in Jacksonville. Bring home a win.
All right. See what I can do.
Terry McCormick, that is his daily Titans update.
And it's been brought to you by Hit After Hit, the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. Give them a call at 615-398-2287. That is 615-399-2287. You can also find them online at hitafterhit.com. All right, George, let's hop into this update. And it's a pretty beefy one. A lot of
Sure
NFL.
Is.
We do have a DeMar Hamlin update, and it is great news.
Oh, it is unbelievably good news.
So he had his breathing tube removed overnight, and he began talking with his care team, family, and his teammates. And he continues to make progress remarkably in his recovery. And he has been talking to loved ones, also FaceTimed with his teammates, telling players and coaches, "Love you, boys," during today's team meeting.
I'll promise you this. There were not all that many dry eyes in the house when he got on with them. That had to be an incredibly emotional deal. Let me ask you this. Do you know if he's been told about the $7 million?
I would like to think he has. And I would like to think that your dream that you talked about, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Has come true.
A couple of days ago.
Because I think I did hear something about his mom will tell him great news, some morning. So I think it's been told to him.
Here's what I believe I've come to learn this week. Not only is he a remarkable young man who is very lucky to be alive, but he appears to me to have 2 of the all-time great parents that ever lived. You talk about thoughtful, decent, smart people. Man,
yeah,
he's got them.
And they've been so thankful too to everybody. And he doesn't want the attention on him. He said it's almost like he wants his guys to go out there, play, compete, win for him. And, his road to recovery a lot faster than I think a lot of people ever anticipated.
And I wonder if the football training and the health, nutrition stuff has helped. I'm not a doctor, but I've got to believe that's a factor in this.
Yeah, well, George, another factor in this, as we continue to track his status, is the AFC title implications of this and what's going to happen with it down the road. NFL owners have approved a plan that leaves open the possibility of a neutral site AFC championship game and could determine home field advantage for a wild card game between Cincinnati and Baltimore by a coin flip. And George, there's a lot of scenarios here. The following scenarios based on Week 18 results were approved. So if Buffalo and Kansas City both win or tie, a Bills-Chiefs championship game would be at a neutral site.
Speaking of which, guess what we're going to do later on the show?
Talk about these with Herm.
No, well, yeah, we're going to have a coin flip.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go back into the inner sanctum of the studio, find a coin, and we're going to flip it.
Is this an impactful coin flip?
Who knows? I mean, it'll give you a little bit of an idea whether you should go heads or tails.
Whether or not we'll get Watson on the show next week?
Oh, no.
Because he is coming on today.
Well, yeah, not often on Friday.
No, but we do get him today. George, another scenario, if Buffalo and Kansas City both lose and Baltimore wins, a Bills-Chiefs championship game would be at a neutral site.
And they're not saying where, but I've got to believe
dome.
It's bound to be a dome.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point if you have if you have the ability, why would you not do that? They've used Detroit for a quote neutral site. Buffalo ransacked with their fans. I'm trying to think Buffalo, Kansas City.
Detroit's really,
Indy.
it seems like the most logical.
Indy.
Maybe Indy. But there's really not a whole lot of domes.
And you're not going to play it in Canada.
No. And then one last one, George. If Buffalo and Kansas City both lose somehow and Cincinnati wins, a Bills or Bengals Chiefs championship game would be at a neutral site. So there's a lot of scenarios to keep track of. You've also got the Ravens. If they win on Sunday over the Bengals and are matched against Cincinnati in an AFC wildcard game, that would be determined by a coin flip. So really kind of wild thinking about the scenarios down the road here that the AFC has under their hands, George, because you look at these owners, I would love to be a fly in the wall in those meetings. There's probably some bickering going on.
Yeah, supposedly Cincinnati really belly ached about this in private. By the way, late word out of Baltimore that if the season gets pushed back to March, Lamar Jackson will be available. Just thought I'd pass that on.
Late breaking news. George, we've got breaking news from the Dolphins today. Head coach Mike McDaniel said that Skylar Thompson is going to start at quarterback on Sunday for the Jets. 7th-round pick last year in the draft. He's been taking first-team reps at practice as Tua remains in concussion protocol.
Well, first of all, that should never have been in question.
No.
Okay, the fact that anybody's even discussing Tua is what's wrong about the NFL. There are a lot of right things this week, but what's wrong about the NFL is that we still, after a second concussion and given his past history, that we're even discussing this.
Yeah.
Okay, the Titans did the right thing. Ben Jones had a second concussion, not going to play this year. That needs to be a new NFL rule. We might talk with Herm about that.
Let's do it.
Let's do.
George, we got more college news.
Yes.
Jim Harbaugh is back in the news for something else. In the midst of him saying he'll be back at Michigan next season, the NCAA is investigating the program for alleged violations during the COVID-19 recruiting dead period.
Might explain the sudden urge to talk to NFL teams.
Yeah, David Tepper is getting involved in Carolina.
One of the things that came out of that is that apparently the NCAA seems to be accusing him of misleading investigators. Did you do this? Oh, no. No, absolutely not.
Level 1 violation for Harbaugh not complying with or misleading NCAA investigators.
By the way, I know you're about to go there. Just moments ago, UC Saros made yet another save.
Yes, he did. We saw it.
How in the world did they win last night? I mean, he basically was put in front of just a blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
What was it, 64 saves? That's crazy. That's insane.
Third most saves in NHL history. He stopped every shot in the third period.
In the last few weeks, he has started to be money again.
And George, that you get your goalie hot like this late in the season, that's huge in the NHL. That's
what you need.
I mean, that is what you need. We've seen Pekka Rinne do this, not in recent history, but when he was in his prime, he sort of carried the Preds. Now, they had some offense, a little bit better offense, but Forsberg, Ekholm, Glass all scored. So maybe this could be a jumpstart win. Canes are arguably the best team in the league.
So they've got Washington tonight on the road, and it would sure be nice if this sudden uptick could continue because this was a road trip starting out, and I think it's a 5-gamer that could have buried them. And last night is a great first sign. Big win against a team that, to be honest, is better than them. That's a big win. Big win.
No doubt. And George, they've got it in them. I mean, I think that's what this might prove to a lot of the fans.
Maybe they do.
Who knows? It's tough to go back on the road again. So we'll see. That's the update, George.
Guess what's coming?
Mark Griffin.
Darn tootin' he is. He's been in the on-deck circle now for about 5-6 minutes. Wave to us, Mark. Oh, he's listening.
He's got his research ready.
I know. Oh, listen, nobody out-researches Mark Griffin. We've got a lot to talk about. SEC basketball is now hot, and we'll find out how hot when Mark joins us on the set. This is the George Plaster Show. That's my name.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Well, our first guest of the day is no stranger to Plaster sports stuff. He is former University of Tennessee basketball star Mark Griffin, and there he is in living color. Mark, how are you?
Doing great, George. How are you guys?
Doing good. So I want to start somewhere where 48 hours ago we never would have dreamed would be starting, and that is Texas now has a basketball opening. And unless the AD is an idiot, 2 of the top 3 names on his list have got to be SEC guys, don't they?
No doubt, George. You want to give the spoiler alert or what?
Oh, you go ahead and do it.
Well, let's do the stretch first as far as calls that should be made, but people you may not have thought of.
Okay.
I don't see why the Texas AD and president and the search committee doesn't call Coach Cal at Kentucky. Why not? A lot of rumblings going up in Lexington right now with the state of the program. Is it time for Coach Cal to make a change? I don't know, but I think that's your first call, just to kind of gauge his interest. Another name that pops up, George, is Billy Donovan.
Yes,
how happy is he in the NBA? You and I have talked about this previously, so I stole this one from you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
It's called plagiarism.
Well, that's it. So,
and on this show, not only is plagiarism okay, but it's expected.
It's expected. I mean, how many of our ideas are our own anyway?
So here's our philosophy on Billy Donovan. Deep down, this guy has had amazing success on the college level, back-to-back national titles. It's what Kirby Smart's going after Monday night. Billy Donovan's achieved it. He's gone on to the NBA. He really hadn't had a lot of success. Any AD at a school that's got a little juice ought to pick up the phone and say, are you really happy in Oklahoma City, Chicago, wherever? And one of these days, Billy, I believe, is going to say, I hate it.
I agree, George. And it just seems like, to me, this is the number one job opening that we'll see this year. And it's going to have a lot of flavor. And it's going to need a flavorful type of coach. I'm not saying they're going to hire the best coach, But I do think they're going to have to hire someone that creates a buzz. So those are the stretch players in play that I think they should first reach out to. Now let's look realistically. Two names that pop out that affect the SEC immediately, because as you know, Texas will be joining the SEC soon. You've got to call Nate Oates at Alabama, and you've got to call Musselman at Arkansas. I just think you've got to place calls to them. And if I was going to go ahead and look in the future, to me, the number one target would be Coach Musselman at Arkansas. And here's the reasons why, based on my thought process. He has a number 2 recruiting class in 2022. He's going to lose potentially 4 players to the NBA. At least 4 right now are in the hunt and in the mix as far as being NBA prospects. Musselman's known for coming in and building programs, kind of like AKA a Larry Brown that was in Philadelphia and many other programs in the NBA, George, that you'll recall. I look at Musselman the same way, and it's going to be tough for him to turn down this Texas opportunity. He's got a great situation at Arkansas. Don't get me wrong. He's done a fantastic job. But I just see him as the number one candidate.
Okay, let me play whatever it is we're playing here. So I watched a couple of nights ago an Auburn team that isn't anywhere near what they have been. Georgia, the dregs of SEC hoops society, ripped them a new one.
I don't know about the dregs of society.
Well, okay, where would you put Georgia?
I would put them in that bottom to second half of the league, but Mike White has done a really good job over there.
And at Florida, he basically left before they got rid of him.
You're probably right there.
Okay. So Pearl is all of a sudden in a downtick. But we know that when he gets rolling on something new, the circus comes to town. Yeah. It's a 3-ring circus. It's kind of what Texas needs, and they've probably caught a couple of what I will call their J.R. Ewing wannabe team owners that would really get into Pearl. Pearl could sweet talk that group.
Yeah.
Mark, does he come up in this?
I think he's in the mix. I think he's on the list, the short list. One thing that he has a history of turning around fan bases that were absent before. Before he came to Tennessee, a lot of vacant seats, packed houses once Coach Pearl comes to Knoxville. Same thing at Auburn. He would do the same thing at Texas with their brand new facility that's absolutely beautiful, that have great crowds, but it's going to take a lot to win over the Texas faithful. And Coach Pearl is one who has that ability.
Tell me, if you're Musselman, why you take this job, because I don't see that the Texas fan base is as rabid as Arkansas's. It looks to me like the resources would be similar, even though Texas has got a pile of money. Why would he take that job?
See, I would disagree on the resources. I think Texas has more upside on the resources than even Arkansas.
When has Texas ever won anything in hoops?
Well, they haven't, but I mean, you go back to Arkansas, I mean, you got to go back to Nolan Richardson days. But the point being, I think that's the challenge. And these coaches have this urgent feeling
for a challenge,
being able to make a difference in a program and build. And I just don't think that Musselman, just my gut feeling, would stay in Arkansas for a long time. Now, this may be, what Arkansas fans don't want to hear, but it's just a gut feeling based on the past. That's all I can go by is the way he's positioned himself. Now, if he stays, great. I just see him as a great candidate. He's got that pizzazz. He's a social media darling as far as, with Twitter, etc. And he just really relates well to the fans, and the players seem to love him. And I just think he'd be a great fit.
Yeah. Okay. So we've centered in on three SEC guys, two that are at the top of the list. The Pearl thing might be just a tad below because Auburn right now has slipped dramatically. And I'm going to want to ask you about that later. Give me a name outside of the SEC that you think is way up on Texas's list.
Wow. I think the coach at Kansas State, I think his last name is Tang.
Tang.
That
just got through whipping Texas.
Now, he came from Baylor as an assistant and has had immediate success at Kansas State, is one that I hear has a lot of momentum moving forward to be a candidate. That would be my outside person of the SEC is Coach Tang from Kansas State. What I think works against him, this is, I believe, his first season at Kansas State. I don't know if Texas wants to take that risk of, let's say, a one-year wonder, but he does have the Texas background as far as state of recruiting. Another candidate I think you have to place a call is you need to call Houston. I think you've got to get on the phone to the coach at Houston.
Kelvin Sampson.
I think that's a must. Now, people can say, what they want about Coach Sampson. I mean, he has done an extremely great job at the University of Houston. And he has a chance to win a national championship this year. But I think that's another individual that should get a call because of his competitiveness year in and year out at Houston and his familiarity with the state of Texas. But the good thing about Texas is you don't recruit just in Texas. You can go national. I mean, this is a national program. It's not like, a program like Houston where you've got to try to pretty much recruit around a certain radius of your city. Texas has got the unlimited funds. They can go anywhere for players. They've got, I think, exciting basketball right now. It'll be interesting to see how they play with their, interim coach. But I think you got to call Coach Sampson as well.
Okay, last thing about Texas, then we'll go to the break, and then we'll get knee-deep into the SEC. To me, if I'm a coach looking at that job and I'm meeting with the AD, I'm going to level with the AD. This is my perception of Texas. Football, spring football, recruiting, and then hoops. Yeah, they're okay with basketball, but they don't really give a damn. This is a football school. Mm-hmm. And the truth of it is they haven't won any national titles in the last 50 years in basketball. So what does that AD say back?
AD is going to say you could be the first. We have the funding. It's public record as far as the earnings that school brings in, which I think is number one or number two in the nation as far as revenues. And you sell it that you could be the first, that you're going to have the support. You got the facility, you've got the budget, we've got the private plane. You bring your people in and you run it your way. And that's what someone's going to want, is to make sure their AD and president doesn't have their thumb on them. I mean, they're going to want that independence to run the program as they are given at other programs. But I think that it's the interest of being the first. And I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Okay, Mark, we'll stop there. And then we'll get into the SEC and how you're ranking them right now, 1 through 14. And we're going to have some fun with that. So Stick around. Plenty more coming with Mark Griffin. Stay with us.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. Mark Griffin will rejoin us in about a moment. I had a chance earlier today to visit Jody Jones Dentistry, 55 Music Square East. I've talked about what a beautiful facility it is, and although I'm not as good at it as Watson, because there's a real family tie there, man, have they done that studio. I guess that's what you call it. It's incredible. You talk about whatever state of the art is or means, man, Jody's done it. And so in particular, if you're new to the area and you're looking for a dentist, consider Jody Jones Dentistry. Make an appointment and see if I'm telling the truth at 615-259-5100. So after that, do we play music to intro, Mark?
I didn't think so, George.
I think we should. I think he's that important.
We've got him here.
Okay.
Disco song, George?
I don't know what we were going to play. I am not in charge of our music library, which is probably a good thing.
You're not the board op, George.
No, I'm not. And if you continue, you won't be either. Just kidding. You've done a great job, and we're all proud of you. So, Mark, let's look at some of Billy's work. The graphic that we're about to put up there is your ranking today of the SEC 1 through 14. Now, the number in parentheses is strength of schedule, and the committee really looks at that. I know it's early. It's ridiculously early. But Alabama is where Mark starts with not only a number one ranking, but the number one strength of schedule. Mark, in your wildest dreams, is Alabama truly a national title contender?
George, they passed the eye test. I mean, I was thinking about them today before coming on the air and looking at what they brought in as a recruiting class that was not as hyped as, let's say, the Arkansas class, even though it was number 3 in the country by Nate Oates. Their freshmen, all 4 of their freshmen have contributed greatly. And I mean, we could always start with Brandon Miller from Cane Ridge here locally.
Seems like the best freshman in the country.
Best freshman by far. And I did a little research on him, George, and you know, he is so athletic. But when you mention the word athletic to a lot of people, the first thing they think is, okay, so can he shoot? Well, Brandon Miller's got 45 three-pointers made this year. He's leading the SEC in made three-pointers, which was a stat that really stood out to me. And then you look at the rest of their freshman crew, like Jaden Bradley that's come in. It's a very tough guard that just plays bully ball, practically knock you out of the way. They've got a couple other freshmen that have contributed greatly. And then Mark Sears is a transfer from Ohio. And you combine that with one of my favorite players Kentucky's had over the last 2 years, Quinterly, that was the transfer from Villanova, who's had injury, which has helped these freshmen work their way in. And now he's back. It just makes them stronger. Now, my only concern with Alabama is inside, as far as their starter and their bench play. I think that's where Alabama gets in a little trouble. But every team has a weakness. It's just they have so many strengths. Joe Lunardi has them a number 1 seed as of today, and he's shipping them off to Greensboro. What's interesting, George, if they were to finish a number 2 seed, Lunardi had them going to Birmingham. So just to kind of look ahead, which a lot of us fans do, looking at March Madness, the placement of teams comes into play. And if Alabama gets to play in Birmingham, I mean,
that's a neutral site.
That's going to be incredible.
Neutral site, huh?
Yeah, neutral site. Like Duke has been used to forever.
Yeah. Whether it's Greensboro, Charlotte, the list goes on and on. Okay. Let's get to your school. And I don't know if this is fair or this is right, but this is what I think I see so far. On nights where they don't shoot, they're they'll get through the first weekend in March. Excuse me. When they do shoot, the ceiling is whatever it is they want it to be.
Yeah.
You buy that?
No doubt. And what you see and hear from coaches, your defense leads the way at the beginning of the season. And now we're into our second season, conference play versus the pre-conference. Offense, you hope catches up. So with Tennessee, if they can maintain being steady on defense, that's going to get you through a lot of nights. Your offense they're going to have some improvement in offense. But the good news is you've got Josiah James back. I went to the Mississippi State game. He was there. And just the vibe, the energy that he was able to create, I think he had maybe 8 to 10 points. Missed his first 2 shots, had a alley-oop dunk for his first basket. Fans went nuts. The presence of him is a difference maker. And I think moving forward, Tennessee goes as far as Josiah James being steady. I'm not saying he has to give him 15 and 7. He just can't play terribly at any given night when they're not performing offensively. He's got to be steady to help guide them through because of his senior leadership. So I'm going to put a lot on his shoulders, George. But I just think that's what's going to occur for this Tennessee team to be successful.
Billy, let's put that thing back up there for just a second. And I'll skip through Arkansas and Missouri and get to what it is people really want to talk about. You have Kentucky at 5. They have been, I would describe them early as underwhelming. And admittedly, it's early. And admittedly, Calipari has a history of getting teams to do better when you get to February and then to Showtime in March. But Mark, is there something missing at Kentucky? What is the feeling? What's the vibe you feel when you watch them?
Well, when I watch them, the first thing that pops in my mind of always being a role player throughout my career is I don't think that Kentucky has ownership of individual roles that are being played out on the court for the entire team or the top 8 players that do play night in and night out. What I have seen on a positive note is Toppin has showed off the last few weeks. And that's a dangerous scenario for a lot of opponents if Toppin it keeps being consistent and some of these younger players learn their role and contribute. But what's so tough about these guys that are 5-star guys is you've got so many people in their ear that you got to score your points. You're going to the league, and it's tough for the coaching staff to really get them to focus on a team goal of helping each other. Shebway is so consistent. He's going to give you the 19 and 14 per night. The coaches have come to realize that they can double him and make him throw it out because Kentucky's not been a great three-point shooting team. I do think with their ranking that I have them at 5, I think it's a justified ranking because I do think they're going to get better. It's just people want them to be better now. And how long does it take for these guys to build this chemistry? Chemistry, a lot of times, George, is built in the preseason. You learn your roles. You just work on those day in and day out and execute and grow as a team. And it seems like they're still in preseason to me. And will the light come on in time? And that's going to be the great mystery.
Okay, let me try this. Let's put the Calipari picture back up there if we can. So, Mark, you and I have been around this block a few times. You've been around it as a player. I've been around it as a broadcaster. Rupp Arena is one of the toughest places in the world because they are some of the toughest critics that are out there. They want and demand excellence from the first minute that team hits the court. And I guess I'm starting to wonder, is he worn out with having to deal with it?
Is the team worn out? I'm sorry?
No, is Calipari worn out with it?
I mean, that's why we started the show, George, saying place the call, because that's what the vibe is that I feel is what he's going through off the court and with his team in the background that we're not seeing. Is the pressure being shown to the players of what he's going through, or is he masking it very well? Because, I mean, people can say he's not having pressure or foolish.
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Because just what you said.
It's
now,
Alabama football.
You want to be in the position that Kentucky is. I think the SEC is better when Kentucky's really good. And I think that this is going to be the most trying season for me. I think that he will have gone through is this season. It's been the most pressure on him. And that's another reason I think that Texas calls, because the timing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put that graphic back up there and let's talk about number 6, Auburn. It looks like a free fall. They sucked against Georgia. They were awful.
Awful.
Are they going to be this bad? What has gotten to the point where they don't look anything like the Auburn of the last 2-3 years?
Well, you're missing some tall trees in the middle for one thing, and one, Jabari Smith that could step out and shoot the jumper. What we're seeing now with Auburn is the guard play has been horrible. KD Johnson, I don't know if it was Flanagan was one of them, but at one point, I believe the combination of guards against Georgia was like 3 of 17 from the field, and it was horrendous. And Barnes sat down. He's like, I'm going a different direction. You don't see the enthusiasm. You can actually feel the enthusiasm from Coach Barnes' coach teams to see how hard they play, and they carry out that same enthusiasm that he has on the side of the court. You're not really seeing that with this team. It doesn't look like they're having a lot of fun, George. And you can lose and still have fun if you're playing hard. What concerns me about Auburn is the lack of depth inside. They have a guy, Trahair, that was originally committed and signed with LSU that switched over. For whatever reason, I don't know if he's hurt. He's just not helping as much as they had hoped so far this season. They have a lack of depth on the inside, which I think really hurts them. And then when they're inconsistent, like we've seen in the past with Pearl coach teams, they live and die by the 3. Well, they've been dying, and that was a tough loss against Georgia. And I did move Georgia up the highest ranking.
You did.
4 rankings because of how well they played. Maybe it's fool's gold. I'm not sure. but it was more of a lack of opportunity or taking advantages of opportunity for Auburn that caused, I think, Georgia to win, because Georgia was playing lights out.
Do you think there's any part of Pearl who is privately saying, man, I've done all I can do here. This is not really a basketball school. I've elevated it. I got them to a Final Four. It's never going to be better than that.
George, I think you said it best. I don't see Auburn going to a second Final Four based on the makeup of the team that they have this season. I don't see it in the near future as far as recruiting for next year. They did have a top 20 recruiting class, number 19 for 2022. But, it's not a top 5. I don't see what we call difference makers that are going to propel this team over the upper echelon of the teams that are ahead of them. And I do think there's a distinction now. I mentioned last time when I was on the show, I think you can group this league into blocks, like a block of the top 5, which is, Alabama down to Kentucky, and then 6 to 10, and then, or maybe even 6 to 9. And George, you may say 6 to 7, but I think there's a distinct difference, between the bottom 4 teams, especially.
Okay. Let me sort of close up shop with the right-hand corner. Mississippi State, for a good while, was way higher than this and has run into trouble. A&M went to Florida and won a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in the right-hand corner going to make a jump, a big jump?
I don't see it, George. And once again, I'm not, the guys that are doing research every day on all these teams, but from the eye test, I think there's going to be teams on the right that are going to win some home games. There will be some upsets, as we've seen year in and year out. This year is no different. You're going to have upsets in conference play. I just don't see as many from the right side. I just don't. Now, one team, once again, that I'm big on at home is Vanderbilt because of Memorial Magic. I'm in love with that gymnasium. I think they're a much better team because of the gym than they are because of maybe the 5 players on the court. But the rest of the 7 teams, I don't see a lot of upsets on the road for sure.
Okay. Last thing for you. I'm sitting there watching a couple of nights ago, Baylor and TCU. And I guess I was caught off guard by how good TCU is. It's like the football team has breathed some sort of a magic into the basketball. Mark, that's a team I would sit there and say, you know what? They could make some run here.
That's true. And with the Big 12, such a great conference. We talk a lot about the SEC, which I think is top heavy. I don't think the SEC it's not as strong top to bottom as other conferences, and there'll be, rankings that'll support this. But with the Big 12 and TCU where they are right now, who would have thought that this time last year? So you're right. I mean, it's a gauntlet when you go into each game, especially when the Big 12. I think every team is rated top 50 in what's called the net ranking. And for that to happen shows you how strong their conference is.
So Tennessee tomorrow, W or L?
Oh, huge W. I mean, now here's the thing. They played one of their best games of the year as far as field goal percentage at home. I think it was top 4 ever, in history of being a Volunteer. Can there be a letdown? Sure. Will there be a letdown temporarily or will South Carolina have a run? Well, college teams have runs. That's just natural. I just don't see South Carolina having a prolonged run at Tennessee because of how strong Tennessee is defensively. One guy to definitely keep your eye on tomorrow is their future lottery pick player, G.G. Jackson, who's a local from Columbia.
Yeah.
He had committed to North Carolina, consensus top 23 player, and then he reclassified like some of these kids are doing for whatever reason. And he came into 2022. But he's a beast, but I just don't think they have the support. And I think Tennessee has too many weapons. They can put several guys on him to wear him down. And he just doesn't have enough support, I don't think, to help pull off a victory.
Yeah, I feel for that kid. He's one of the better players in the country. He played really well against Vandy.
And he's got nothing else around him.
Nothing else.
He's got a football team.
Yeah.
Bunch of athletes.
Yeah. Mark, great stuff. Let's do it again next Friday.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That's Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee star, giving us his opinions in the world of college basketball. We will shift gears during the 3 o'clock hour. We have Stat of the Day coming. Jeff Pennington with his thoughts on where stuff is going this weekend, and then Herm Edwards at 3:15. But before that music dies, I want to do one thing. I also got the chance to go over to Sir Speedy of Berry Hill today and my buddy James Warren, who runs that. And man, has there been growth, and it's deserved growth. They do a terrific job for a lot of businesses, not only on the local level, but the national level as well. And you know what? Because quality is vitally important to them. Whether it's my bowling sign, which may be the biggest bowling sign in the history of bowling, or for whatever it is you may need, you go by and see these folks. They're really good. And tell James to change my BGA transcript. It might be helpful. Stay tuned.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. It's now time for Stat of the Day, and it is brought to us by the great folks at John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Call them at 931-492-4304. That's 931-492-4304. They're located at 204 Depot Street, Tuesday through Friday. That's when they're open during the week, noon to 5. Also, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5. That's John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. All right, George, let's get to stat of the day.
Oh, this scares me without Watson because I can't really bat it around with anybody. And
No.
It ends up showing what an idiot I am.
You're all on your own today, George.
I know it.
Let's see how you do here. Let's see what Michael's got. Which two NFL teams are currently responsible for the best and worst overall point differential this season?
I might have had the Vikings up there somewhere, but Dallas beat them at home 40-3. Remember that one?
I do remember that one.
Okay, so worst overall point differential. We got to go with the bad teams. Okay, let's think about.
You don't say.
Yeah, that's sort of this just in. So bad teams. Bad teams. This year, the Rams have been a bad team. Arizona has been a bad team. The Bears have been a really bad team. Houston has been a really bad team. Give me some more bad teams.
The Titans. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's just December. A little bit of November.
George, there's so many mediocre teams.
Yeah.
Did you already say the Texans?
Yeah, I've got the Texans. And to be honest, the Texans are probably where I'm going to go for the worst. Although they have hung tough in some scenarios. Now to the best. Philly got to be up there pretty good. San Fran's got to be up there pretty good. KC Buffalo probably got to be up there pretty good. Although KC has not just clobbered people the way they should. I'm going to go Texans as the worst. And
tough.
I'm going to go Philly as the best.
Okay, so Texans as the worst and Eagles as the best.
Yeah. Why do I think I'm going to go 0 for 2? Oh, wow.
Indianapolis is the worst. Minus 137.
Good Lord, that's horrendous.
Buffalo is the best at plus 157.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a really tough question.
Oh, Indy, when you think about it, Indy has gotten mauled a few times this year.
Mm-hmm.
And in the games where they have really gotten mauled, they don't protect the quarterback. And they get Matt Ryan sacked about 12 times. Matt Ryan needs...
Poor guy.
He needs a whirlpool at the house.
He sure does. He needs every piece of help he can get after playing behind that poor Colts O-line, which used to be a really good O-line.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but that feels like an organizational fall apart.
It really does, George. I mean, especially with such a winnable division. I mean, the window for really every AFC South team is open. I mean, just because of how bad that division is. I mean, for the Jags, they proved it this year with the Titans losing 6 in a row. So I'm kind of confused about what Irsay and the Colts have going on up there.
Well, first of all, I think one of the things they've got to do, they've got to figure out exactly where it is they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do they want to go with Jeff Saturday? I mean, it was a nice feel good, but does it make long-term sense? Not really. And the truth of it
doesn't feel too good anymore.
No, it doesn't feel too good anymore. When they blew, what was it, a 33-point lead in Minneapolis, that to me sort of said, okay, you better get a professional coach in here.
Mm-hmm.
And this needs to be a long-term relationship. And then the second thing they've got to do is figure out what direction they're going to try to go at quarterback. I mean, you think about it, in recent years, you've had Phillip Rivers, you've had Matt Ryan,
Carson Wentz.
I mean, they have gone.
Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah,
it's been the quarterback carousel.
Yeah.
But George, let me ask you this real quick about the Colts. As we await Jeff Pennington here, if you're Jim Harbaugh, do you even consider Indianapolis with Irsay and everything, that all the drama? Because there has been some drama, especially this year and in the past couple years. Do you even consider Indianapolis?
Well, first of all of a sudden, this NCAA news brings us a totally different deal on Harbaugh, because he may be facing things that we didn't know about, which suddenly makes him a little more interested in leaving. There's no doubt in my mind he has caught some crap about, what went on a week ago when TCU ripped them around. And so he's got a double whammy there. Remember that Indy is where he had a lot of his biggest success.
Indy?
Yeah, sure.
As an assistant?
No, as a quarterback.
Oh,
if you go back to Jim Harbaugh as a quarterback,
I'm too young.
He throws
George.
a pass in the AFC title game that comes within an eyelash, a Hail Mary of putting Indy into the Super Bowl instead of the Steelers. So he's got past history in Indy that might be to their favor.
Big Ten
I think
city.
Denver is going to check in on him. I now think Carolina is going to check in on him further, because here's the thing. He may not be in a position anymore to bargain. If he knows the NCAA is on his doorstep, he's got big, big problems.
Yeah, it feels weird. The timing of it feels weird too. With all of a sudden he comes out publicly saying, "I'm coming back to Michigan. I'm going to be at Michigan next year." NCAA comes out and whams him with some allegations. So
I'm not sure I believe it.
I don't either, George. The NCAA is starting to get a little fishy with a lot of the timing of some of their.
What they are right now, they're mad. Okay, because
they're losing their power.
The rule book has been taken out of them. What used to be cheating is now legalized, and that pisses them off. And so they're looking for little scapegoats right now. So mad at Kentucky, they tacked on an extra year at Cleveland State. That is the mentality that they have got right now.
Man,
I'm a little cynical, aren't I?
You are, but I think there is some truth to, George. There may not be, at least for football, maybe basketball, much power at all from the NCAA. I mean, we could be seeing the beginning of the end of their their power source.
We think our buddy Jeff Pennington may have forgotten us, but we have not forgotten him. So let's run his commercial.
Pennington Distilling Company was founded in 2011 with the goal of creating original craft spirits that embody the same character as the city they were born in, Nashville, Tennessee. From grain to glass, every step is taken to produce spirits of exceptional craftsmanship and quality. Pick up one of their award-winning products like Pickers Vodka, Davidson Reserve Whiskey, and Whisper Creek Tennessee Sip and Cream today. Or stop by the distillery in West Nashville and the Nations. Follow them on social media and online at PenningtonDistillingCo.com.
So, speculating for Jeff, who may have forgotten us, probably makes him a smart guy.
I'll be you and you can be Jeff here.
Okay. Well, now then I'd have to get the shades on and maybe some, some golf paraphernalia.
Go out to Hillwood Country Club and I'll video you. Okay, George. Even though you already have most of these bets, you have two of these bets we're going to get to with Jeff.
Yeah.
But Jeff, Georgia and TCU. Georgia is a big favorite in this one on Monday night, but a lot of the United States is putting a lot of money on TCU money line, TCU to cover. What do you think?
I believe he would go TCU.
I
he
think
likes
so.
dogs.
He likes dogs. He would, and I put the minus 12.5 for Georgia, just stating how big of a favorite they were, they are in this game.
Let me say this: the line has caught some people by surprise. If you had asked me right after the Georgia-Ohio State game, what will the line be? I would have said in the range of 8, maybe 9. And obviously it's come down some because TCU was way too good Saturday to ignore.
Yeah.
But I think he'd go TCU.
I agree. George. Let's go to the NFL now. Titans are...
He'd go Titans.
He wouldn't even think about it.
No.
He would definitely go Titans.
The homer in him would take over.
By the way, I can't wait for him to go back and watch this segment.
Yeah, when he finds out that we've done this for him.
Hey, we could go 3-0 with these picks. I think these are good picks.
Okay, keep going back.
Green Bay and Detroit. Or did you want me to go back to the Titans?
No, that's fine. His first question would be, who is Detroit's quarterback? Here's what's weird. What were the Lions? Were they like 1-6 at one point?
They were bottom feeders in the NFL. But they weren't playing. I mean, they had pieces. They had Goff. They had some pieces around, especially on that defense too.
But they had no defense. And I don't know that they do now. So
you think it's a lot of Goff and just
I think it's a lot of win 48-34.
Yeah.
And they have straightened out their defense some. It's not springing the leaks it did earlier. I think he's going Green Bay.
I think he would definitely go Green Bay. He seems like a big fan of Lambeau and that atmosphere. How could Aaron Rodgers lose in this one? We have seen him sort of choke per se in a lot of these big time games though. So there it is. There's your Pennington's picks for the weekend.
Jeff becomes our first guest in 2023 to forget.
Jeff's going to hop in when we've got Herm on live.
Yeah,
here.
And you know what? We're not going to him. Okay, after the break, a moment all of you have waited for. The voice of reason on the worldwide leader. That would be Coach Herm Edwards, and he is coming up next on the George Plaster Show.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay. In just a moment, you will hear from the voice of reason on what he calls the worldwide leader. That's Coach Herm Edwards. His weekly Friday visit here on the show. We're thrilled to have him. I just talked to him by phone, so I know that this is about to happen. We'll stall around for a minute. A little bit of a rain delay stall. I am so incredibly moved by what's gone on with DeMar. Man, what else is there to say? But you really see in this story the power of prayer. There's just no other way around it. The power of prayer has won out here in a remarkable 4-day journey with this young man. I can see Coach Herm Edwards, so I know we're just around the corner from getting him on. Herm, Happy New Year to you. The NFL shield looks good on that sweatshirt.
Thank you.
Isn't one of the most remarkable pieces of DeMar's story the parents? They must be incredible people.
I mean, yeah, they have a sense about them that really was a calming force for everyone else, especially the Buffalo Bills football team. Because those young men and that coaching staff, they needed a voice, you know, and when the parents speak, they give you that sense of, okay, everyone, you need to be calm. He's going to be okay, you know. And when a parent says that after witnessing what has happened to their son on a football field, that I've never seen that, to be quite honest. And I've been involved in this sport for over 50 years. And it was hard to watch. You know, it was like, am I seeing this right? And you can't say enough about the first responders, the NFL, you know, doing the right thing by canceling the game. And you mentioned it earlier as you were doing your piece, prayer.
Oh,
you know, this, you know, America's a great place because when you see things of this nature, this whole country came together again. Regardless if you're a Buffalo Bill fan, even if you weren't a football fan, just watching it and hearing about it, you know, just people it's just, and that's what's so great about sports. It brings so many people together to watch an event, whether you go there, you watch it on television, wherever you're at, and you watch these things, and it brings all nationalities, religions together, and everybody's just watching the game and rooting for their team, right? And when something happens like this, it unites. It just unites everyone. And you're right. Prayer obviously helped this young man, and that's good to see.
I'm guessing in this case, once a coach, always a coach. And there had to have been a private moment where you sort of said, if I had been the coach dealing with this, what would I have done? How would I have handled it? What answers do you think you came up with?
Well, I think the best thing you can do is obviously be honest with the players, give them comfort, saying this, that look, he's in good hands. He's in a place where people know what they're doing. And all we can do at this point in time is pray for our teammate. And, you know, I wish I could give you more answers. And that's what coaches do. You know, coaches are problem fixers. They give players answers because they're always looking for information. But as a coach, this situation, you didn't have an answer. Generally, when a player gets hurt, you go out there, you're speaking to the trainers, you see the player, you know, and we've seen knee injuries and all that stuff, you know, and then you come back to the sideline and they might take the player off and you're telling the players he's going to be okay. This one happens. And when that game and that ambulance came on that field and that young man left, we had no answers. No one had any answers. And that's the chilling part of it. And that was what everybody was like searching for. Just tell us something. And as the days went by, all we wanted to hear was what? Good news. And all of a sudden, good news started leaking out. And I think this team now, he had a Zoom meeting with the team, and this will galvanize this team. Not that it already hasn't, but I think seeing him, looking at him, telling those teammates he loved them, this team will be on a mission. Not saying it wasn't, but now this is a whole different deal.
Right.
Whole different deal.
So Watson Brown is a co-host on this show. He's not normally on Friday, but Herm, you'll remember this. He was Vanderbilt's coach the day of the Chucky Mullins situation, where Chucky basically was airlifted to Memphis. We know the tragedy and the way that ended, and it is so sad.
Yes.
But the fact of it is, once they airlifted him, they started the game back. And I asked Watson, I said, was it ever discussed that the game should end right there? 30 years ago, if this scenario had happened in the NFL, we'd be playing, wouldn't we?
I don't even know if it was be 30 years ago. You know, but I think the NFL is come a long way, and I was proud of how they reached a decision quickly. It wasn't very long, and as this thing went on, and when I saw the ambulance come out, and I saw those players in that huddle, I told myself at that point, you can't play this game. And if I'm the head coach, and both those head coaches got together, you're not playing that game. There's no way. You can't. And here's I think was the thing they did right again, is that those two teams aren't playing each other unless they get in the playoffs. You don't even want to bring. You don't want to see that game again. That's you don't want to look at that no more.
Right.
Don't replay it. We don't want that. No one wants that. Right. No, we don't want that. We got to move on now.
So let's sort of move from there to a couple of other things.
Sure.
The Titans get a few people back, enough to maybe give them a puncher's chance tomorrow night in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Is it as simple as Jacksonville's got to screw up and maybe be the old Jacksonville for the Titans to win?
Well, I think this. I think obviously they have to be careful with the ball. You can't turn the ball over and give these guys second possessions or field position. You got to play really good on special teams. And we all know this. Can you stop Derrick Henry on first down? Because here's the problem. If this team gets into 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s, your offense is going to be standing on the sideline for a long time. You're not going to possess the ball. And on the flip side of it, if you're Jacksonville, you can sit there and run the ball some to get those guys in the box. And then what you got to do, you got to put it in that quarterback's hands, and you got to hope you can get up 2 scores. And force Tennessee to do something they really don't want to do. Go back and throw the football. Because then they got a problem, right? I mean, it's that simple, to be quite honest. It's not football's not complicated. It's really not. And if you can get a lead on them, it forces them, they can't use Derrick Henry now.
Right.
They got to throw the ball because they got to catch up. If you can possess the ball and get into third, and that first down is critical, and you get into 3rd and 2s or less all the time and 3rd and 3s, you can still run the football. You don't have to throw it. Well, you make another first down, and guess what? Here comes another 3 or 4 minutes off the clock.
What's realistic? You know the story. Josh Dobbs, who has University of Tennessee ties, will be the Titans quarterback tonight, but he's only been on their roster about 10 days. What's realistic for a quarterback to be able? What can you throw at him in a playbook in 10 days?
This guy's really smart.
Oh,
I mean, he's smart. I mean, he might be smart.
Majored in?
Yeah. He might be smarter than some of the coaches. You know, he's one of those guys where you're like, oh, wait a minute now. You know, and I think it's not so much what you can give him. It's he's smart enough to articulate what you want to do, but then it comes down, what can he do? What can he do? Build it around what he feels comfortable doing. And he's honest enough to tell him, Coach, I like this, I like that. You don't have to be very complicated, but Put him in position where he can be successful. He can make some checks when he sees coverage. He can do all that, but don't ask him to do too much.
Okay, I'm going to hopscotch all over the place, and I
Sure.
apologize for that.
That's okay.
But here's one I can't figure. Okay, I've watched Max Duggan now 5 or 6 times this year, and I'll admit I am impressed. But Herm, I never hear anything about him as an NFL quarterback or, what's his potential. Am I missing something?
No, I just think that it's like, well, hey, here again, how about Purdy with San Francisco, right?
Same kind of deal.
And so it's fun. Well, I'll give you one better than that. How about Tom Brady? Captain America.
I knew that was coming.
Captain America
used that a bunch.
And it's just interesting, and you never know. And look, the eye is always in the beholder. There's going to be reports that scouts give and all that, but at the end, is he capable of playing at the next level? I think he is. He plays in an offense where he throws the ball a bunch. So he knows how to do that, and he's a good player. Now, here we go. Somebody might draft him or sign him. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I do know this. He'll get an opportunity, and it'll basically be a team picking him that he fits their system. That's Purdy.
Right.
That's Purdy, right? That system's not driven by the quarterback. It's driven by the defense and the run game. And they tell Purdy, just don't screw it up. Just don't turn the ball over. We'll give you a couple. You're going to have to make about 5 throws, right? And other than that, everything else is going to be scripted for you, where to go with the ball. And he's done a great job.
They could win this game, couldn't they?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah. That's what's so unique.
The line 2 touchdowns.
It's look at this. It's just look, I've always said this. Football is a strange sport this way. And I've said this my whole career as a player and as a coach. It's not who you play. It's how you play the day you play. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter who you play. How are you going to play the day you play? Right? That's why there's what they call upsets. I laugh. I go, yeah. And I don't know if it's upset. It's just, how are you going to play the day you play?
It's that simple, George.
Oh,
it really
is what I love about him.
It's real. No, think about it, right? When you watch it and you watch games, and when a team that wins is like, a 20-point underdog, you go, how did that just happen? And you look at the game and you go, well, I see how the one team played and I see how the other team played. That guy should have won. That's what I tell the players every time. I say, hey, guys, it don't matter who we play. They're faceless. It's how we play the day we play. And that's why when you're a coach and you're a player, when I was a player, there was a standard that I was playing at. I knew who the receiver was. I had some good ones and some other ones, but it didn't matter. He was faceless. I had a standard. My job was cover this cat. Don't let him catch the ball. That's my job. And I understood that. And that's football in a nutshell. It's how you play the day you play.
Okay, I'm gonna unload one more deal on you. And of course, I love, and I've had some fun with this on the air, when you call it the worldwide leader.
Oh, yeah, the worldwide leader is right.
The worldwide leader has had a lot of morning shows hosted by a guy named Greeny.
Oh, Greeny, yeah.
Yeah, you know him.
I'm on a show every once in a while. Yeah.
So they have had a field day with the whole Lamar Jackson thing.
Yeah.
But for me, Herm, there's an uncomfort to the discussion, because one thing that I believe I learned as I came out of school was you do not accuse somebody of faking it unless you have real info.
Right.
So I don't know.
No.
They're trying to give you the I smell a rat.
Yeah.
Do you smell a rat?
Well, I'll say this, and I was on a couple of shows earlier. I said, look, Lamar, when the season started, he was playing for a contract. He was playing for a contract. He could have tapped out. Third game of the season, said, man, I'm out. I'm hurt. And here's what I'm going to say. And I said this on a couple of shows. I said, look, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. If you play in the National Football League, which I did for a long time, there was times I hurt, but I could play. When you're injured, you can't play. He's got a knee. I think he's injured. And he knows I can't be who I am right now. A third of my game is making plays with my legs, and I got a knee. I think he's injured. I don't think he's like trying to get back at the Ravens and that's all that stuff, man. That's that espionage stuff. No, look at this guy's career. I mean, you kidding me? He could have tapped out in the beginning when he didn't get his contract.
So the Ravens aren't stupid. They're hearing all this.
Sure.
They know that these shows are playing this game. If he's injured, don't they owe it to him to come out and say, look, we're going to stop this cold. We know what his injury situation is, and he's not going back out there until he's ready.
Well, and I think they're kind of saying that, but it's kind of like, okay, it's like Tua, right? When Tua got concussed this last time, and they were saying it's week to week, I came on a show and told them this. Look, Trent Green, when I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, got hit in the first game we played in the season, my first year there. He got knocked out. He was out 6 weeks. I said that when he went out this time. I said, he was out 6 weeks. So you're talking week to week? I said, guys, it ain't week to week. This is his second time. I said, it ain't going to be week to week. He's going to be out for a while. He might not even come back this year. I hope he does. But, Lamar's deal is him in his own mind, looking at his knee and trying to move around. He knows if he can go or not. He's a prideful guy, right? And I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a former player, all right? And if he can't go and he knows I can't do what I need to do to be successful, I'm putting myself in a bad position, he ain't going to play. Why would he?
Yeah.
See, it's just like I've been on a couple of shows. You know what they've been saying? Here's what's funny. I'm surprised you didn't ask this question. Well, some of these teams are going to rest players. And I went, going to do what? They said, well, rest some players. I said, you play football. You don't rest. Can you imagine if a coach came up to me when I was a player? I never missed a start. Okay? Never missed a start. And we're in the playoffs and say, hey, Herm, we're going to give you rest. I said, you going to do what? You're not giving me no rest. I play football. This is what I do. There's a reason I got 150-something starts in a row. Never missing a game. I'm going to play. I don't care if we're qualified to play in the playoffs. Coach, I need to play. I'm a football player. Those guys that rest right now, those guys are going home on the offseason. They're trying to get in the playoffs. You get your rest when the season's over with. You play football. This is ridiculous.
By the way, I've heard.
I'm not saying, look, I get it. You can play. Jalen Hurst, he's going to play. Okay. You get in the game, let him play. And if you're winning, you get him out of the game. But to say, this guy ain't going to play that guy. If I'm a player, I'm going, nah, coach, this ain't the preseason. This is a regular season game. It counts. Coach, I'm playing, man. You ain't put me on the bench. That was my mindset. So I don't play, but the 5 other guys are playing and you ain't resting them. What does that make me look like? People don't realize that. It's more complicated than just, I'm going to rest these guys. I tell coach, you ain't resting me. I'm playing. I signed on for this, man. I'm playing football. I'm a football player.
And by the way, I have seen a bunch of this. Oh, I've watched you do this on the Worldwide Leader.
It scratches my head.
Yeah.
I sit there and and the question's always, coach, what would you do as a coach? I say, stop asking me as a coach. I ain't a coach right now. I'm the player. I played. I said, you're not setting me down. I'm the starter. I'm the starting right corner for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm lining up, man. Don't tell me about, no, I'm going to rest you this week. You ain't resting me, coach. I'm playing. Stop all that nonsense.
So, Billy, now you know why I wanted this guy when he left Arizona State.
They don't make him like Herm anymore,
my
George.
goodness. He is
It ain't that hard, right? Well, worry about getting a guy hurt. Let me tell you something. When you start worrying about getting hurt,
that's when you get hurt.
You better get out. It's time to leave. It's time to leave. And no, it really is. You look, George, I told you this. My claim to fame as a football player, I never missed a practice. I never missed a start. From high school, college, to professional football. That's my claim to fame. I was available. You know why? Because I didn't want to let my teammates down. They knew I'm the right corner, man. He lining up. You can trust me. I'm going to be there for you guys. That's what makes this game so unique. It's a team, and you play for your buddies, and you want them to know I'm good, man. I'm going with you. I ain't sitting out. Come on, man. That's nonsense. You get to retire. You do that when you retire. You do that when you're playing. Stop all this nonsense. Right?
You better hold on to this clip, Billy. He is on a roll.
No, I mean, really. I mean, and I'm not trying to say I'm a tough guy, but it's you sign on to play football. And I tell people all the time, you practice more than you play. And I'm going to give up a game as much time I've practiced, and now I'm going to say I don't want to play? What? Are you crazy? That's what you want to do. You want to walk into the arena with your teammates, and I want to go compete. I want to go compete on the grass. That's what I want to do. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been very fortunate. Been given a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things, but nothing in my life except being married and having children can replace me being a football player. I miss it. It's in my blood, man. That's all I ever wanted to do. And so you can't tell me about, hey, man, you going to rest. Man, I ain't never. What's rest? Rest is retirement. You get to rest. Go play football.
You will not do well in some home.
Oh, I'm good. I'm on the worldwide leader, man, and they let me do what I do, which is a wonderful thing. And I know I'll probably make some people mad. They're saying that guy, he's an old man. He's an old guy sitting in the rocking chair. No, I ain't an old guy. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you like it is. It's what it is. Man. It don't change.
The worldwide leader is better for having you. By the way, have you noticed they've been going to you a lot?
Well, yeah, I figured that out night because the 6 o'clock Sports Center in L.A., they said, Coach, we want you to come on and do a little hit for us on some games. I said, oh, I'm on a roll today. Everybody wants to see Coach today. Okay. I said, I help him out.
Got to be available.
And some fool from Nashville wants you to come on too.
Anytime you need me, George, you know I'm available, man. You know that.
Hey, we'll talk again next week. Happy New Year to you and your family.
You guys too. God bless you both now. Thank you, buddy.
He's the best. I am so fortunate to have him coming on with us the way he is. We'll go to the break, and then the Titans and Jacksonville tale of the tape is coming up next.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. Well, make no mistake, the Gator Bowl, and that's what I always think of it, even though it's been Alltel Stadium and some other names. Bottom line is, tomorrow night in Jacksonville is going to be rocking. The Jaguars have had this late season surge under Trevor Lawrence, and they now are one game away from getting in the playoffs. The Titans, on the other hand, you know the story. They've had this long 6-game losing streak. It has not been a good month and a half for Mike Vrabel and his team. However, they have gotten a bunch of people back who have been hurt for the majority of those losses. And so, Watson, on a rare Friday appearance of yours, let's go tail of the tape, shall we?
Okay, George, I think running game, we've gotten people back. Derek's back. I always put this one Titans because if we don't win this one, we're not going to win anything. And so I put running game in our spot, and we need 150 out of Derek this week. And if we don't get 150, they've crowded him to the point we've made a lot of big plays in the passing game. So running game, check mark to the Titans.
Okay, the passing game obviously goes to Jacksonville. Given the Titans' woes throwing the football over the last 2 months, virtually any team you would have that be the case. Watson, how do they see to it that it's not the bloodbath it was when these teams played a few weeks ago and the Titans secondary had no answers?
I think a different Simmons and Autry can make a difference, and that's what's got to show out. If we don't rush the passer better this week, we're getting a few pass covered guys back, but George, we haven't been really good there all year anyway. So it's up to Autry, Simmons, Tart, Weaver. Those guys have got to step up, and because the Titans passing game isn't going to match the Jacksonville passing game unless they just absolutely put everybody up to the point we get some one-on-ones and make them. But this is going to be on our defensive line, in my personal opinion.
Okay, defensively, we give the Titans the check mark. Now, it's not a resounding vote of confidence.
No.
It's closer than you might think. Watson, in this stretch, how much better has Jacksonville's defense gotten?
A little. The offense has really carried them.
Yeah.
Their defense has been better. But it's off. They're averaging over 30 points a game. We haven't scored 30 points a game in a game, I don't think, all year. So their offense is what's really picked it up. And so the defense, I still think, is vulnerable to score points against. I think we can. I do think healthy, and I go back to Simmons and Autry. Those are the two biggies. If they're healthy, and I mean truly healthy, and play well, then I think our defense will be slightly better than the Jags defense.
Okay. Special teams, you have all year given the Titans this nod. If any game they need to dominate and make Jacksonville go 85-90, they need a big performance out of the punter.
And we didn't play well in special teams against them in the loss, George. So we got to get back to what we do best. Our kicker has been solid all year. We've been waiting for him to – I think he missed one big one in the season. He's been good, but our punter's leading the league. I mean, he's got a chance to break NFL records in this last game of the year. He's got to come through. Field position, I think, will be huge in this game. And our advantage is when we punt it, they punt it back to us, we've gained 15 yards. That's been a lot of the deal all year long. It's got to show up in this game. in my opinion, Saturday.
Okay, you have listed here under the intangible, Jacksonville is red hot, and we know that. So you give them the check mark. But Watson, let me toss this at you. They're not used to these kind of big games. Not that the Titans have had a ton of winner-take-all kind of stuff, but don't the Titans get the intangible check mark a little for the fact they've been there? They've played in some of these kind of games.
Yeah, exactly. I would put this check mark in the middle, more toward the middle, and just they're hot, and that is big. And we've lost 6 straight. That's big. I don't care how you go about it and say it.
Yes.
I thought that was one of the main decisions that Coach Vrabel had to make, was to pull all these guys out, knowing you're going to lose the game, knowing you would go into the big games 0-6, and play those guys, win that game, give them some confidence again. I thought the game was winnable. After watching it with the Cowboys, it was winnable. So that was the decision Mike made. But there's also the piece that they don't beat us down there, hadn't in quite a while, and we're the ones that have been winning this division, and this team hadn't won it in a long time. I agree with you 100%. That's why to me the check mark is just past middle to the Jacksonville side. And what we need to do, George, get off to a great start. We don't need to come from behind. We need to get off to a great start in this game and kind of always have that lead, even if it's 3 points, I don't care, just a little bit of a lead that wears on that team that's never won it before or hadn't won it in a long time.
And in theory, perhaps quiets down what ought to be a huge home field advantage.
If they don't have that place rolling, I'll be disappointed. And Jacksonville has been known not to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
they've had that MO a little bit. So I'm really anxious to see how their crowd is in this game.
Okay, let's see what you think here. And wow.
Yeah, I'm
one of the only really?
I'm one of the only ones pulling this. I know. I just got a feeling. This is one of Mike's kind of games. And when everybody says, ain't no way, I was really impressed with Josh Dobbs for him to throw on time, on rhythm. We had fewer sacks the other night in that game. I know Dallas hadn't been a great pass rush team in recent weeks, but the reason we didn't get many sacks, he got rid of the ball better than, for sure, Malik Willis. I think better than Ryan Tannehill. He got it out of his hands. If he'll do that again in this game, make a few more plays, not turn it over, get rid of the couple he had, which he's capable of getting rid of those, I think we're going to pull the upset, kind of keep the lead. It'll hang tight. It's going to be tight to the last drive. I think we win the game by 3.
Whew.
I know.
I like it.
I'm not going to get any more votes in your all's room either. I know. I know Billy, you and George aren't going to go with me on this one. I got it. But I just got a feeling. We'll see.
Oh, no, that's why it says down there Watson's prediction. Now, we could have added Watson's prediction, GP not in agreement.
That's too much.
I think you're going to make that well known the rest of the day anyway. So.
However, here's the beauty of this.
You mean this isn't going to be a plaster pick of the day? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, no, there is going to be. But Watson, here's the beauty. They don't care what I think. They do care what you think.
No, they don't.
This is Watson.
They don't care what either one of us think. We just have a good time with this, baby. That's all there is to it.
There is the most truthful thing that has been said on this show in 8-9 months. Watson, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope your prediction is right.
Go Titans. Let's go.
And stay tuned. You'll find out where I stand on this, and it might surprise you. Stick around. We're coming back shortly.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Final segment of the George Plaster Show here on this Friday afternoon. Heading into a big weekend of football. We've got the Titans and the Jags tomorrow night at, George calls it the Gator Bowl. I don't think that's called.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It's the old Gator Bowl.
Right, but the name, who knows what the name
Well,
the
I think it's Alltel now, isn't it?
It might. I think it's another bank. It's TIAA Bank Stadium or something.
I don't know.
Whatever it is, they're playing down in Jacksonville tomorrow night, and they may be involved in the bet of the day. And speaking of the bet of the day, it's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. Again, that's 615-242-9000, or look them up on the web at bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night, George.
Let's don't.
College hoops has not been kind to you so far. Mm-hmm. Oregon loses to, who did they lose to?
Colorado. Colorado beat the snot out of them.
Come on, George.
They were down 37-21 at the half. Gosh, they got boat raced.
The Deion Sanders effect.
I guess. I don't believe it. Prime time.
Neon Deion.
Yeah.
So 96 and 97 now, George. You have hit below the 500 mark.
How do you think it would look if it was 69 and 97? Do you realize the amount of crap I'd catch?
Oh, you would catch unmitigated crap.
So we're not letting this little slide continue.
You can't let this slide continue, George.
Okay, let's start with the game.
The game.
Well, the game in this area.
The game. Titans, Jags, tomorrow night. Who do you got?
I am taking the Titans plus the 6.5, and I'm going to lay it out to you the way I think it is. Do I think the Titans are going to win? No, I don't. But I think that they are going to be able to dictate the tempo. Jacksonville wants up. Okay, they want a game where you got to score 30 to win. The Titans would much rather have 16-13, have the Hogs slopping in the mud, the running game taking 8 minutes off the clock. And I think they'll do some of that, but I'm not sure it'll be enough. Let me say this.
Tricky line, by the way, too.
It is a tricky line. If they get ripped tomorrow night, then I think they've got to look around and say it may be time to rebuild and get ready for the new stadium. Because if this scenario, even though they've got injuries, they've got a bunch of people coming back, if this isn't good enough, it's probably time to rebuild. But I do think it'll be good enough to cover.
George,
not sure it'll be good enough to win.
This would be almost an act of God if the Titans are able to go into Jacksonville, win this game, get into the playoffs after having a season that most franchises would fall apart, I think. I mean, you fire your GM, you lose your starting quarterback, Derrick Henry goes down for a moment, for a game or two, and you're sitting here on the doorstep of the playoffs. It's really Mike Vrabel and his coaching job. It just keeps coming back. It keeps coming to mind. So, George, if they win, this is big for the franchise right now. If they lose, you go into sort of kind of tank postseason
I think
mode.
you go into rebuild mode.
Right, because you would have a 12th or 13th pick. Maybe you trade up, get one of those quarterbacks, and sort of start over. So this is bigger than people may think.
Jacksonville's probably got to help them a little bit. It would help if Jacksonville got some nerves. Everything has been coming up roses for them in the last month. If all of a sudden tomorrow night early it doesn't come up roses, how does a young team that's never been in one of these before react? That ought to be to the Titans' advantage. I don't think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover.
Titans aren't the team you want to face for a spot in the playoffs if you're the Jags. Now, the Jags still have a shot, right? Even if they do lose to the Titans, they're going to need a lot of other help.
It's the Chargers that are likely the opponent for whoever wins tomorrow night.
So good luck.
Yeah.
Your run may be short-lived.
Maybe.
George, let's move on here. Green Bay hosting Detroit. They are a 4.5-point favorite. Another tricky line.
Yeah.
Good luck to anybody betting on these games this weekend.
I'm going to, I'm going Green Bay at Lambeau.
I was about to say there.
Here's where I'm coming from in this. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, this is not the first time he has told everybody to chill. And as weird as the guy is, and he is as weird as it gets.
Weird bird.
But this is the second time in his career that he's been able to kind of pull this kind of magic and just snap his fingers and say, we're going to turn it around. And they have. Well, I don't think they're going to turn it around, get to this moment, and then gag. Detroit hadn't been here. They're not used to this winning in stuff. They don't play a lick of defense. And Green Bay is going to capitalize on that. It may be a high-scoring game, but Green Bay is going to win by a touchdown.
All right, one more pick.
Did that sound convincing?
Well, the minus, I think Green Bay wins.
Same to you.
Lions are going to come ready to play, though, and they may cover that. But it's similar to the Titans and Jags. Do they win? Probably not. All right, George, last pick here, two-team teaser. You're going to ride with the Bills, even
Damn
after
right
DeMar Hamlin and all
hey,
this.
Let me tell you something.
Stuff. You think their minds?
Herm hit it right. They are going to be on a mission. Now, they were going to be on a mission anyway. But, man, they've got something now that, I'm sorry, City Hall can't beat. The emotions that are going to pour out Sunday, poor New England, they have no idea what they're walking into. That's in Buffalo.
And George,
tease them down.
Tease them down. -1. And in the movie that's made, this is the part
this is going to be a movie.
This is the part where it gets really good.
Yeah.
For the Bills, the sort of the jubilation, and then you go on the run.
Yeah.
Man, it's going to be fun to watch.
It'll be out by March if it goes the distance. The second one, Kansas City has to win in Vegas to be a 1 seed. Now, the Raiders played pretty well a week ago against San Fran, and I don't doubt they'll play with enthusiasm and spirit, but Kansas City's the one that's got the offense, and they're the ones that have got all the stuff riding. And so, two-team teaser, Buffalo -1, KC -3.5. Billy, we are out of here.
We're out, George. I'm ready for the weekend. Titans, Jags. And, man, good luck to you betting on these games, George.
Okay, Monday, it'll be Reaction Monday. We will react to the Titans. We'll check in on Mike Vrabel's press conference. Is it the end of the season stuff? Is it getting ready for the playoffs? Man, there is a wide variety of feeling to all of that. You'll need to join us Monday, and then we'll preview the national title game between Georgia and TCU, and I'll tell you, I'll have a bet on that.
Really?
Oh, yes. That will be,
who would have ever
in
thought,
some form or fashion, involved with Plaster Bet of the Day. All of you. Drive safely this weekend. We'll see you Monday. Well,